Yeah. Put it in the DM.
Okay, sweet. Yeah. The weather is kind of crazy in the UK right now, so I'm boiling. What about you? Where are you? Is it hot for you?
I live in New York City. Oh, it's not that it doesn't get bad until like August, and then it gets like really bad. It gets like I don't know, like 30 plus,
Yep.
40 plus.
My man just casually said he lives in New York City. We got a border over here, guys.
Yeah, I
Crazy, crazy.
wish. I wish.
Okay, I'm gonna stream my screen. Let me know if it is working, because I've never actually done this while I was actually streaming, so it might bug out. But just let me know if you can see everything, okay?
Yeah, I can see.
It's working?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sweet. Let's take a look at your OPGG. So, we have Silver 3 here with not that many games played, and by not many, I mean basically none at all, but decent win rates, okay? Is this your second season playing only, or is this just another account?
Yeah. Yep. Second season.
Okay,
Well,
alright.
playing ranked. I mean, I think I started playing League like mid-pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
That was like this is like my only MOBA experience.
Okay, yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, it's doing decently well, like for only being your second season already, playing ranked, and it doesn't look like you pay that much. I'm guessing you have other commitments, maybe you're working or something.
Yeah, I work a lot, and mostly I play norms with friends a lot of the time. So, if I had more time, I would probably just like grind rank. But I'm 28,
Mm-hmm.
like I got a job. Like I don't have like hella time to like grind rank like I could if I was younger. I just like don't have the patience. I'll try and play like 3 games a night if I have the time, and
Mm-hmm.
that's usually my limit. But
Mm-hmm.
we all want to get better, so it's like
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
no point
sure.
not to.
So basically, what you're saying is you're doing better than 99% of us. My guy's got a job, he's living life. Okay, all right, let's get into it. So I can see because you haven't played many games, and looking at your recent match history, you're actually playing really, really well. It looks like you're playing your level of play is above the skill that you're or like the elo that you're playing at, right? So it's a very common thing that I see with a lot of the students that I have or coaches that I have that they just simply haven't played that many games. And to this, it's sounds silly, but literally I feel like if you just played more, you would easily hit gold without any coaching, without any advice. But yeah, that's it. That's the end of the coaching. That'll be $350. No, I'm joking. But yeah, so what goals are you looking for here? Like, what are you looking to reach? Because I think even
Uh,
just playing, like, consistently, because this is only 28 games and you're clearly smurfing in your games, I would easily look at gold for, without any coaching at all, being achievable for you. So, like, what are you actually looking to achieve?
yeah. I mean, if I put my mind to it, I probably could hit like plat. I think plat would probably be where I think is like reasonable without just like no lifing.
Hmm.
But like you said, it's like I need to just play the game, I think is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
But honestly, the thing I want to get the most out of this coaching is
Hmm.
honestly just like laning properly,
Hmm.
like
That's good,
learning
yeah.
how to trade properly,
Hmm.
and like just like little macro things. 'Cause I think my understanding of the game is probably higher than the elo I play at.
Yeah, no,
Like certain
I
things,
can
like
see
I
it already.
know
Absolutely.
when to trade when we hit level 2, like after laning, like play in mid lane, try and influence the map more. It's like
Hmm.
people at this elo have no concept of that whatsoever, and
Hmm.
it's like very frustrating.
Hmm.
Like the goal I set for myself is like 7 CS per minute.
Yep.
Going mid lane and just trying not to die is like I think the hardest thing that people don't grasp with this elo is like just if you don't feed
Hmm.
and you hit like CS per minute, chances are you probably win the game
Yep.
if you just don't like, you know, completely throw.
Okay, I mean, I'm just gonna cut you off there, but yeah, no, literally everything you said is absolutely accurate. I was gonna bring this up, so let me just go through all the like trackable metrics that you can look at on an OPGG. So your CS per minute is actually pretty low, especially in the context of your games. Like you are winning all of your games, well, most of your games. You have a 65% win rate in 23 games, and you have a good KDA. So within that context, that would imply that most of your games you're getting fed, most of the games you're winning. And in games like that, you should have a much higher CS per minute than this if you are, focusing on your income management, like in terms of actually catching waves correctly and resetting at the right times. So ideally, you would get this to a 7.5. I think within the context of this, you could even have it a little bit higher. So we will definitely be looking at how you're missing CS, because the most common misconception of players that are not as experienced with correct resets or wave management, the biggest misconception is they think they're missing CS because they're just not lasting in lane. But the truth is, they're actually just missing entire waves because they're moving away from waves of bad fights, or they are resetting at the wrong times and they're just getting waves dying to the tower. So we will pick up on this to take a look at in the VODs that we take a look at. Your KDA is looking really, really good. Absolutely. Generally, in my thousands of games on Ezreal, there is a sweet spot between playing very, very aggressive, like pushing, testing the limits mechanically of what Ezreal can do, as well as not just completely inting for that, and playing stable, macro-based, standard League of Legends. And the balance that I've come to find is about 3 KDA. So sometimes I'd even find people that have higher than 3 KDA and say you need to start limit testing a bit more. But I think this is fine, especially in such a small sample size of games. This looks really, really good. Let's take a look at your builds and runes. I see you're going Trinity every game. Is that a stylistic choice? Because Essence Reaver and Trinity obviously have very different play patterns, and a lot of people really just enjoy how Trinity feels. Is this just a choice?
Yeah. I mean, I've played like all the builds like across like the past couple patches, but like time and time again, I get maybe it's just a mental thing. It's just like the attack speed you get from Trinity just feels so nice in comparison to like kind of just like your Q spam with like the Reaver mana. What's the word? The mana you get back from using the Reaver. So I don't know. I mean, I've been trying to like put in more Essence Reaver builds when it's like when it's apt.
Okay.
But yeah, I could probably change it up more.
I mean, no, you don't need to worry about it. Like I would say, the Trinity Force build is just almost viable in every game. Like especially when you're in lower elos where micro differences in optimizing builds and runes don't actually make that much of a difference, because obviously there's so many bigger issues going on in the game with every player making mistakes here and there. So if you really just wanted to play Trinity and you enjoyed that and you feel good when playing it every game, you could easily play this every game up easily until GM Chal. I mean, you might not be looking at that, but it's just me giving you the example that you could play this every game if you wanted to. I would like to optimize this a bit further if you wanted to go Trinity Force every game, though, and that is 90%, if not a bit more than that, of your games you should be going Conqueror. Conqueror with Trinity is they synergize so disgustingly well. I will give you the exact numbers on this. At about level 12, 13, which is ideally when you get your Trinity Force Romana, which is when you want to be pushing your lead, because that's the whole purpose of this build, getting those 2 items and basically 1v9ing. With fully stacked Trinity Force and Conqueror, you get about 43 to 44 AD when they're fully stacked. That's an entire BF sword worth of stats just chilling, just out of nowhere, just because you have Conqueror and Trinity. So most of your games you should be taking Conqueror, but you still can flex PTA, and in games where you have like a Nautilus or Leona, like I can see here, PTA is still very, very fine with Go Trinity because you can just shitstorm lane with it. So it's good to see that you're flexing them, but like for example in this game, especially with the Yuumi where you're scaling, I would have gone Conqueror here. You should be taking Conqueror more than PTA, and I urge you to try that. Another thing I would like you to optimize is your secondary tree. The most common secondary tree that people go is this Inspiration with Boots Cookies. Boots, while very, very good, this is the only reason I would ever take Inspiration. Cookies essentially is pretty much a wasted rune. And my description of this is because you will find yourself in a lot of games essentially just ending up on 3 cookies and not having used them. And in games where you have used them, it is usually as a result of you not laning effectively in a way that you could organize usage of your mana, essentially. So if you can just play a little bit better to then afford you to take a better rune in the mid game, you should do that, because, well, why wouldn't you? It's like you just get a better rune and there's no downside realistically, because if you end up just selling 3 cookies, it didn't do anything for you in lane and you only get a total of like 120 mana, which mana flow band gives you more, right? Okay, and that is why you shouldn't take Inspiration. But the reason that you absolutely should take Sorcery with the Trinity Force build specifically is because stylistically, this Trinity Force build on 2 items is absolutely where you want to maximize your impact on the game. That's where you want to take over, of course. I mean, I know you felt it when you get your Moromana Trinity. You feel like a god, right? It's like, it's so satisfying. You just 1v9 the game. And the Trinity Force build actually gets outscaled by the Essence Reaver crit build in the late game. So you want to be pushing your lead to get your later items even quicker by getting more fed on those 2 items. And the best way to do that is by going Mana Flow Band and Transcendence, because at the exact point that you finish those 2 items, these are both capped out. You have the extra haste from Transcendence, you have max mana that gives you more AD on the Moromana, and it is the best 2 runes that you can ever go that will make you as strongest as you possibly can be in that mid-game spike. And that is why it's so good with this build, is because that's exactly what you want to be playing for. So you should almost every game with Trinity Force be taking this. The only other time that I would recommend going cookies is if you're into a disgusting poke lane, like let's say Jin Karma with double Comet. You're not going to survive that lane without cookies. You know what I mean? Sometimes I would even go fleet in that lane. So only in cases like that would I ever go inspiration. But I urge you to try Conqueror and sorcery with Mana Flow Band and Transcendence. It is just by far and above the best rune set you can go with the Trinity Force build. Let me take a look at something else. Is there any other metrics that I
think earlier if you just like scroll all the way down, I think I did a long patch of games where I just used sorcery tree. But I don't know why I stopped. I don't know if it was just like because I got lazy and I just like didn't bother to like play with it more.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's like sometimes you do get bored and switch up. Like you see me on stream, I'm just building whatever the fuck sometimes because I'm like, yeah, whatever. I got bored. I want to switch it up. But yeah, absolutely. Like 90% of your games, your runes for Trinity build are going to look the same. It's going to be Conqueror with Mana Flow Band, Transcendence Secondary. Outside of that, there's not much else that you can really track. I do notice, yeah, you don't really have many games to look at, right? So it's hard to say. Easily, I think, without any coaching at all, like if your games are looking like this in Silver 3, like without any coaching, you can easily just play more and get to gold. Like I can just tell. Like I played this game for so long, I can just see it, you know? Like it's easy to see.
Yeah.
So we will definitely be picking up on your habits within the VOD that we're going to take a look at now. Is there anything else about your OPGG that you would like me to point out or take a look at?
No, I think it's pretty good.
Okay, sure. Sweet. So let's get into the VODs. Let me just preface this by saying the current coaching ecosystem for like how they approach coaching is people look at very minute interactions that don't come up game to game. And what I mean by that is they'll say, oh, you should have flashed here, you should have landed this skill shot here, etc., which is not really very useful because well, that specific situation is never going to really come up ever again with so many different champions in the game, so many different drafts, etc. And what I prefer doing is looking at things that you can replicate game by game so that you can actually take these like tangible improvement patterns away, and then in your next games, you can actually implement them yourselves every single game, and that's how you improve, is by taking those patterns, developing on them, and then making it second nature so that you can start focusing on another thing to improve at. So that is the general way that I like coaching, and that is what I will be addressing. I will still obviously go into the laning aspects because there are lots of laning patterns that you can focus on and improve on. As you said at the beginning, that's what you want to focus on. Oh shit, I didn't want that. But yeah, just a heads up, that is how I prefer coaching. So it's not going to be your right clicks are bad here, you know what I mean? That kind of style. Let me just speed it up. Okay. Unfortunately, you haven't shown the draft, so I'll just wait for this tab. Okay, so at the start of every single rank game that you play, you should have a general laning matchup plan. And what I mean by that is you just look at your 2v2 and see how your bot lane wants to play versus how their bot lane wants to play, and then devise some kind of idea of how you're going to interact with that laning phase. So if you look at this matchup, Ezreal Swain versus Misfortune Milio, it doesn't need to be very, very detailed. I want you to give me your overall idea of how these champions want to play against each other and how you want to play your lane.
What was that? What'd you say? I'm sorry.
It's all right. No, I want you to just give me like your overall idea of how this matchup would look and like how you'd want to play this lane.
Okay, so I guess with Swain with Electrocute, it kind of favors just like more all-in playstyle. And then I see like the rune setup is like I see like whenever I see like 3 or more melees, I usually just take Conqueror just by the fact that like it's low elo, people are just gonna group up and just want to fight the entire time. So it's like
don't worry about the other champions.
If we're brawling, in 2v2,
yeah, just the
I see like MF with first strike, so it's just gonna be probably just a lot of like E spam and like fishing for Qs. So I just kind of just have to take space properly and make sure I don't get poked at before we have a chance to like capitalize off a Swainy or whatever. And then I guess other than that, just like look out for Milio Q, and that's really about it. I think.
Yeah. Okay. That's fine.
I think we're just gonna get poked out a little bit, but not like crazy.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. Like that's fine. Like it can be a very simple sort of framework just for you to remind yourself while you're laning, so you have like a consistent way to play the lane rather than just you know, autopiloting, which is what 99% of players do, which is why their games can be like 20-0 one game and 0-20 the other game. It's because they don't think about this kind of thing, and they don't develop consistent habits when laning. So this is what you need to do every game. Just like when you're loading screen, it doesn't take that much time. You just look at your 2v2 and be like, okay, how do I want to play this lane? The way I would describe it in a general phrase for you is, okay, we have Ezreal with Conqueror and Swain, who has a pick tool with his E. I want to be playing long fights off when Swain lands E. Very simple. That's what you want to do if you want to win the lane. They have First Strike and Misfortune with Milio, who buffs her poke, and they just want to play on MF poking with her Q with First Strike. That's it. That's it. And just sort of instantiating that idea of how the matchup is enough to help you lane efficiently without just randomly, I don't know, eing forward and being like, okay, this is going to be good here, you know, just playing autopilot. And that's how you develop consistent habits to lane. So when we look at the next VOD, I'm going to ask you to go over the 2v2 matchup yourself, because, you know, we want to improve at that, of course. Now let's take a look at what we do here. Okay. This is one thing that a lot of my students aren't doing on Ezreal because it is a bit strange. You don't see it often with AD carry. But on Ezreal specifically, if you want to win lane, as you were saying at the beginning, you wanted to focus on like laning aspects and how to win lane specifically, you need to be starting in lane before the wave has even come. And you want to walk straight to this middle bush and ward it ASAP. I don't know if you've been watching my stream at all, but I do this basically 99% of the games. I do this all the time. And you might think your jungler's going to hate you. You might think your team's going to fucking hate you. But remember, if you want to consistently climb, you need to take the agency of every game into your own hands rather than leaving it to your teammates. You know what I mean? So in this situation, like the start of every game, you want to walk to the middle bush and ward it. And I promise you, in low elo, they're never going to sweep it. So you're going to get away with this every single time. And then you want to be just literally fishing in lane for Qs as the enemies come in before the wave's even there. And just landing 1 or 2 Qs before the wave has even come in already gives you a massive, massive lead, so that the enemies can't play 2v2. Just literally when you landing 1 or 2 Qs could just straight up win you the early laning phase, like the first couple of waves, you know? So you should be fishing for that every single game. You can even ping your support to come with you. Trust me, they will help you. They will help you. I know it doesn't seem like it. A lot of the students I tell when I say this, they're like, no, he's going to flame me or they're getting annoyed with me. Trust me, it does work, okay? So I can see that you're not looking for this here, but it's fine. And I want you to do that from the games here on out. Cutting away, that's fine. One thing I'd be wary of in a situation like this is the jungler. It's not the AD carrier support. So if the jungler, I don't know why he's here. I don't know what the fuck he's doing, but if he's running in like this, you should definitely be afraid that their bot lane is behind them. And I can see you clicking back up, and their bot lane could have just came out of nowhere and maybe busted some of your sums. So this is a very niche situation, but yeah, you shouldn't be chasing him like that, especially if it's the jungler. If it's a bot laner, then maybe it's just going to be their bot lane here, but yeah. Anyway, let's skip ahead. So yeah, for example, even leashing, if you want to win lane, is very, very, very bad. Especially on a champion like Ezreal, where level 1 to 2 is his strongest point. I know you've probably had it in some games, where you get level 2 first, you just straight up one-shot the enemy, you know what I mean? That is his most powerful period of play, and you want to be doing everything you can in your power to capitalize on that. So if you want to win lane, you should never leash. Just literally tell your jungler, sorry, can't leash. I don't know, like make up an excuse like I will int if I leash or something. Not like literally int, or my lane will be really bad if I int, you know. Just tell them that and then sit in lane and then fish for poke. It's very, very important if you want to have agency in your game that you start in lane. So I really don't like this, but it's fine. The only time that this is okay is if the enemy is also matching, like leashing, so that you come to lane at the same time, you know what I mean? And we'll see if that is the case. Yes, look, I can see Cho'Gath top lane already, so they're going to be here at the same time. So this is okay, but I still wouldn't recommend it. Like, for example, here, if you were sitting in this bush already, you could have just fished for a Q in the middle of the wave and landed 1 Q already. She's lost her first strike, she has to back off. This is the power of, like, starting in lane, okay? So I just want to stress how important that is, that you should do this every single game that you can. What is this MF doing? This is disgustingly grief.
I have no idea.
Okay, well, this is really, really bad. Let me see how you play this out. Okay. So referring back to the overall 2v2 idea, what do you think I'm going to say about like how you played this little trade out?
I probably could have gotten away with getting more damage off, but I chose to like walk back for some reason.
Yeah, that's what you need to say. So in this case, we said at the beginning, she has first strike, and she wants to be playing around poke. Once she's used her first strike and her Q, she has absolutely nothing left. She's a fucking cannon minion, right? But you have Conqueror. You really like long fights. So you win
Right.
by playing long fights. They win by playing poke. So if she's completely griefing like this, walking up 1v2, getting eaten here, that's it. She's used everything. She's used her Q, she's used her first strike, she's a minion now, you know? So you can just keep walking forward. Milo's already used 1E, you just walk
Right.
forward with Swain, just keep walking forward. Eventually, she's going to lose this fight no matter what. She can't do anything. There's absolutely nothing she can do in this situation. You just keep walking forward until she flashes. And she will flash in this situation because you're just beating the shit out of her. And this is why it's good to develop these, or just in draft, think about this 2v2 thing. Because if you have in your mind, oh, long fight is good, they want to play poke, if I continue this trade, we win. It's that simple. And it just looking at it, you're like, oh yeah, that does make sense, you know what I mean? But it's not something that you're thinking of in the game because you're probably playing on autopilot, you know what I mean? So please keep that initial concept in mind when you're in draft to think about the matchup, because then it would help you play this out. And you could easily bust her flash here with how hard she griefed. Like if that was me, I'd be like on stream, I'd be screaming, I'm like, what the fuck is she doing? You know what I mean? Just run her over.
Yeah.
I would even heal at her here, you know? And then suddenly she's 1 HP, she has no flash. Lane is instantly won in 10 seconds of gameplay. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's these windows that you need to be aware of. But let's keep watching. Did I speed it up? I don't think I did. Yeah, let me speed it up. Okay, I can see you're hitting the wave to contest level 2. Especially, this is a common thing that most bot lanes have an issue with, and it's why I wish Riot would just introduce voice comms, because it would make things like this a lot easier in 2v2s in bot lane. But here, your Swain is walking up. He's posturing like he wants to play aggressively, and you should move with him. You should be parallel to him. You should be moving up with him, because now, if he does land a CC, you're kind of in Narnia. You know what I mean? You can't really help. And you're so focused on getting the push, which is fine, but you can also get the push while moving up with your Swain. So here, this again could have been a flash busted.
I'm autoing a minion, yeah.
Yeah, it could have already been a kill. You know what I mean? I'm not going to say this is a habitual thing, because this is only the first laning phase that we're looking at, but just keep in mind, if you are going to win the 2v2, you should always try and be close to your support to follow up on some kind of CC that they might have, you know what I mean? Because this MF should have been already dead. Okay, so what's your decision making here? MF is very, very low, 1 HP, she used her sums. It's a pretty simple question. What do you think she should do?
My first thought is maybe slow push to like deny her XP and just like slow build a wave to crash and maybe get like a what is it, like a 3-wave crash and just maybe come back with like a tier.
Okay, well, what you should actually do in this situation is just instantly crash this wave. And why you should do that is because she's 1 HP and she wants to recall immediately. And if you slow push the next wave, she will actually just have time to base and come back to lane and catch the crash under the tower. Sure, it will give you a longer time to recall, but in this way, you will just instantly crash this wave. She's going to miss all of this CS, and if she doesn't recall, she's just 1 HP under the tower, you might end up just killing her, like in a 2v2 dive, you know what I mean? So it's like you give her a catch-22. She either stays and dies under the tower, or basically misses everything, or she has to recall and miss this whole wave. And it doesn't matter, you don't need to recall really that badly. Like getting an early tier is nice, but you don't have to, you know what I mean? So this is the best thing you should do for this situation. So let's keep watching. So MF is choosing to stay. Definitely pushing. One thing that I will mention on Ezreal, this is very common, it happens to me. I like to play very, very aggressive, and I'm getting from how you've discussed your goals in the beginning is you would like to learn to play very, very aggressive early Ezreal. One thing you need to be very careful of is if you want to play this aggressive style, you absolutely always have to ward in river early, especially if the enemies are starting bot side. So if you are on red side and the enemy is started red, you need to ward river early. If you're on blue side and they're starting blue, you need to ward river early. Because what commonly can happen is you're playing very, very aggressive, you're pushing up, you're getting them low, you're trading, and then you get a bit frustrated. You're like, they should be getting punished more. They should be dying. They should be getting killed here. And then suddenly a jungler ganks your ass, and then all of that lead that you tried to like build up and get away with is just thrown away. Like you just, suddenly the enemy bot lane gets 2 kills, they crash, and then it's just like, well, GG. Like I played aggressive for what? I've lost my Psalms. So very importantly, like right now, you know that the enemy jungler started blue buff, right? Because they came into lane at the same time as you and you leashed. Right? So in a situation like this, when you're playing aggressive, you absolutely should ward here, just in case they do 3 camps into ganking you. Okay, so keep that in mind if you're playing aggressive. That is something you should be doing every game if you're playing aggressive in lane. You'll see me on stream. I'll play aggressive. I won't ward because I'm a clown, and then I'll get tilted. But I know it's me being a dumbass. You know what I mean? It's me not playing correctly. But let's keep watching. So yeah, for example, enemy jungler could just come and gank you right now, and you'd probably lose your sums or something like that. Although this is a very big wave, so maybe you could 2v3 them. So as you can see, MF, wow, that's a nice Q. MF already decided to stay because you actually crashed pretty quickly. And she's now stuck. Like, she's 1 HP under the tower. She can barely touch the wave without dying. So this is ideal for this kind of situation. But again, just make sure if you're going to play like this in another game, always have that early ward and river. Maybe wave 2, wave 3. Make sure you have a ward there. I promise you, when you die while playing this well in the 2v2, it is the worst thing you could do for your game. Like, you can just lose a game that quickly, you know? So punishing plates, MF is still choosing not to base. Yeah, don't know what she's doing. Has she farmed a minion in the last 10 minutes? I don't think so. So this is the benefit of instantly crashing. You know what I mean? Where I said either she's going to stay and miss everything, or she's going to recall and then farm afterwards. So you can see how it pays off for you if you make the correct macro decision. So here, what do you think you should be doing?
Keep the pressure and just keep on crashing the wave.
Yep, pretty fine. It's basically simple. The longer she doesn't base, the more she's griefing because she can't see us.
Yeah.
So this...
we see Graves top, so we know there's not a gank coming.
Absolutely.
So just keep either force her to miss a bunch of CS by basing or get poked on the tower. So.
And another way that you could safely know that you can afford to keep pushing without getting ganked is the enemy jungler started bot side. If he hasn't already ganked you by about 3 minutes or 3 minutes 10, maybe even a bit less than that, it can be 250. There's a exact timers, by the way. Then you would know that he's full clearing from his bot side into his top side. So even if you hadn't seen Graves, you know that this is safe to do. So that's something you can keep in mind for your next games as well. Because this is just fortunate that he's showing on top lane, you know. Otherwise, if you're not thinking about it, you might be panicking, like, where's the jungler? You know he's started bot side, he has to be full clearing into top, especially when he's playing a champion like Graves. But yes, when they are this low like this, and you're playing a poke champion like Ezreal, this concept is called lane locking. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's when you're locking them in lane, and you just crash waves one by one and keep forcing them to stay, or they have to miss a wave. So here, you're deciding not to push, so she might have a chance to recall here. If you're going to do this, what you need to do is you need to check if she's recalled or not. Because if you keep slow pushing and she's recalled without you realizing, she could just come back to lane on full HP and catch this entire wave. You know what I mean? So I would highly recommend fast crashing over and over again and forcing her to stay. But if you wanted to slow push to build up another wave and then get a bigger recall of, then you have to absolutely check if she's recalling or not. So like walking up and checking if she's recalling here. Because now she could have recalled. I would assume that she has recalled, actually. And we'll see. This wave might not even crash. You might have to do the next one. As you can see, it's playing out exactly how I imagined it to be. Graves is still topside, doing whatever. But now, she's back on full HP and she can catch the wave. You see that? So this is already a mistake. Like a pretty big mistake as well for your exclusive 2v2. And this is how you'll find AD carries getting massive leads without you even realizing is about wave control like this. It's not necessarily about killing them. It's about how you manipulate your wave. So in this situation, I want you to remember this. Obviously, I'm not going to do any screenshotting or writing down because that's why I'm streaming it. It'll all be on the board for you to look back on if you come across a situation like this again. But if you are in a situation where they are 1 HP under the tower and you want to start lane locking them, I will use that term again so you remember it. You just want to keep immediately pushing over and over and again. And if you want to stack 2 waves, you have to check if they've recalled or not. You have to check. Because if they have and you didn't account for it and you still start pushing, what's going to happen is what you saw already, where she gets back in lane, full HP, and she gets to catch the whole wave. You know what I mean? So now she's catching CS that she shouldn't have been allowed to. You could have been like 2 levels up and like had insane amount of gold. And now you also can't recall, which is the hard thing about this, because now she's back in lane, she's going to keep cancelling your recall. So you see how many like small decisions you can make in a single game of just 2v2, like no junglers have interacted. Do you see how many like tiny decisions actually you have agency over as an AD carry? It's crazy, right? Like there's so much depth to it, and most AD carries like, oh, my role, I have no agency, I hate this shit. But there is a lot that you can control, you know what I mean? So yeah, I hope you're keeping this all in mind, of course. Let's see how you play out the rest here. She's still very, very afraid. 2 plates already. This MF is not playing well, I'll tell you that. MF needs some coaching, I think. But yeah, let's keep watching. Okay, so now you're at what I call the sexy base. I say this on stream all the time, which is 1.1k. And that is exactly when you can get tier Sheen, and is literally the best first recall you can ever get on Ezreal, unless for some reason you get like a triple kill or something, level 1. But this is the best recall you can go for, and as soon as you can, you should go for this. Okay? And ideally, you want to have your first base to pick up a tier before 6 minutes. Okay? That is a general timer I will give you, because if it gets to 6 minutes and you haven't bought your tier yet, it's going to take a very, very long time to get your Muramana. A very, very long time. It'll be a very late spike on the Muramana shock passive upgrade. So make sure you get your first recall off before 6 minutes. I would say ideally, if you have 1.1k, you should always base as soon as you can. Because as soon as you get Sheen, sorry, excuse me, that is just when you can take over the lane with like your Qs, because your Qs hit fucking hard the earlier you get Sheen, of course. Right. So I would like to see you start recalling here, which is looking like from your clicks you might be posturing to do so. So yeah, I would say right now you're not really thinking about what you want to achieve. You're not thinking about, okay, I should recall here to get my items to get back to lane and be stronger and then punch even harder. You're just kind of going with the flow. You see your support walking up, so you join in, and then your base is even more delayed, and as a result, you get punished. You see this? Because Graves has just finished his entire invade on the top side. That was about a minute ago, and you know he's going to recall and come straight back bot, because he's got his bot side cancel clear again. And being aware of that and recalling in this situation would have completely avoided this. So I'm going to assume you might even die here or have to use all your sums. Okay, can't go away. It's pretty close. They didn't play it particularly well. And I guess because it's Graves, they don't have a lot of pick down, so it's fine. But now you put yourself in a situation where you're going to miss the next wave when you recall. As we can see. Oh, choosing to stay. So again, you're just delaying the inevitable. Like being on this HP right now, what's stopping Graves from just coming back again after clearing his bot side and diving you? You know what I mean? You don't have heal anymore. You might still survive with flash, but it's not a good situation. You know, it's not a good situation to be in. You're delaying your tier, and now it's going to be even later than 4 minutes, which would have been really, really good. So I just want you to put into perspective what it could have looked like, your game, versus what it looks like now. So let's say earlier, at this moment, you chose to recall. As soon as you crash this wave, you chose to recall. You crash this wave, you're back in base. They can't stop you or anything like that because they have to catch the wave. You're back in lane before they can even crash. You're extremely strong because you have Sheen and tier. And now you play the next couple of waves literally shitting on them in lane. You know what I mean? So the next 2 minutes after this, after recalling, you would have been just dominating lane. You know? Pushing them under the tower, poking them under the tower, forcing them to recall, taking plates. But now you chose not to recall, so you weren't thinking about it. The next 2 minutes, instead of being spent pushing your lead, gaining more of a CS advantage, maybe even killing them, is being stuck in lane, just desperately trying to recall. So it's like, you see how just one decision you could make changes the next 2 minutes of gameplay like massively, like night and day. You know what I mean? Like you would already be here with Sheen and tier. They haven't recalled, you could start shitting on them. You know what I mean? But now it's a completely different game that you're playing. So this is how important these decisions are that you need to account for when you're laning. But yeah. Let's keep watching now. So here, this is episode 1 of how AD carries permanently lose CS without realizing it. So now that you've put yourself in a situation where it's very hard to recall, you have no mana, like you're half HP, you can't really lane at all. You can't crush the next wave because you don't know where Graves is, you don't know where the bot lane is. So you're choosing to recall while this wave is going to slow push out. And you know how that would like result in the end when you recall and come back? Like what it would look like?
It's gonna be on their side of the tower, and we have no river vision and nothing stopping Graves from just 3-manning us.
Yeah, exactly. So your wave is going to one-shot the entire fucking wave, and it's going to be like over here, and they're going to have a giant wave to catch, and you're going to have lost like an entire wave. You're probably going to miss this entire wave coming in. So it's decision making like this is the biggest way that AD carries lose CS. It is not by just missing CS in lane and shit like that. It's taking awkward recalls and moving to fights that they have no reason to move to. So I want this to be like a snapshot in your mind. Recalling on slow pushes like this is very, very bad. Okay, and there is one way that you could sort of remedy this situation for yourself, because you've already put yourself in a bad situation, right? This could have been avoided. But let's say it does happen, because these things happen. Sometimes you end up with a fucked up wave. It's going to happen to me also, even if I'm thinking about wave management. So there is one way that you can solve this situation. And what do you think that is?
I don't know. Calling your jungler to break the freeze for you? I have no idea.
It's that simple. Obviously, you have the benefit that your Nunu just happens to be bot side right now. If he wasn't, and this is slow pushing out, you're fucked. You just have to take the L. You're fucked. But fortunately, Nunu is bot side with you now. So you should be saying, you should never ever want to recall on a wave like this. Sometimes you have to. But if you have a solution out, you should take that. And I would be spam pinging Nunu. Please help, crash. There is like a push ping. I don't really use it, but you can use it, or you can even type it. Need to crash. Please help. And it's in their incentive to want to help you. They get minions and XP and gold out of it. You know what I mean? Like, why wouldn't he? It's a good idea for him to do it too. So he's not going to get angry or anything like that, which is what a lot of people tell me. Oh, if I type or ping to my jungler, they're going to fucking run it down. Trust me, that is the biggest copium ever. They just don't do it. So in this situation, I would have liked to have seen you ping your jungler to push this wave out. Because you can already see Graves topside, that's fortunate. But if Graves did come, you're just going to crash this really, really quickly and back off. You're not looking to fight, okay? Look, Nunu even is posturing to help you. So now, this is how you're going to miss minions. So you're going to miss a whole entire wave as a result of this. Let's skip ahead. As you can see, this is the wave state that we were talking about. I'm actually impressed that the enemies decided to let it push. I've seen some heinous behaviors from the enemy laners when doing a coaching session, and they just like crash a wave and give you a free wave after it was freezing for them. But yeah, they did let it push into them. So you see how you've missed an entire wave now? So it's these patterns that make you miss CS rather than actually like dropping minions in lane. And you're very unsafe doing this as well, because you don't have Swain with you. Nunu's like pathing away.
Yeah, no vision.
No vision. You don't have any wards. You've lost your heal. Fortunately, they don't have much mana, and it's Milio, so they don't really have a good way to catch you. So you're kind of chilling in this situation. But let's say it was a different bot lane or more of a CC jungler, you're probably going to die. You know what I mean? And that's how you could have avoided that in two different ways, which is one, basing earlier when you should have, and then second, if you fucked it up and your jungler's bot side, ping your jungler. If you don't have either of those conditions, you're just fucked. You just have to recall and take the L, you know what I mean? But that is how people lose games, of course. Like, those are the mistakes to be looking out for. Okay, now let's see. You now have Sheen. Why do I keep saying Sheer? Sheen and double longsword with Tyr. So you can start playing very, very aggressively. Your Nunu's on the dragon. He's pinging to help you. For you to help, yeah. You can go help, that's fine. You crash bot wave. Nothing wrong with this. Nothing to say about this. I would say sometimes in these situations, it's a very niche decision to make. So don't put too much focus on this compared to the other things I've said. But if you have full prio on bot lane, you have, well, mid's recalling now, but let's say mid wave has been crashed, and your jungler's pinging for you to help. Sometimes you don't really need to. Like, even though your jungler's saying it, you don't need to, because he's safe anyway. So you could have spent this time poking them under the tower while Nunu's just doing the dragon for free, and just get a nice lead for yourself in the 2v2. It's not that big of a deal, but it can be quite damaging for the enemy laners if you poke them under the tower while you're getting dragon at the same time. So do just keep that in mind, because this decision does come up a lot. You'll find yourself, actually, you didn't even fully crash this wave. It's fine.
No, we didn't.
It's fine because it's already quite low, so you're not going to miss that much CS anyway. But you should definitely be keeping that in mind. You should always fully crash before you move to something like this, because now you're going to bleed some CS. I'm going to go back. I'm thinking you're going to miss 3 minions. Yeah. So you missed exactly, 2. But yeah, do keep that in mind. Let's see. So now you can employ the thing I was talking about earlier. She wants to recall. What was the concept I was talking about earlier?
Right. You want to lane lock and force them to make a decision where they either miss CS and XP or be under threat of a dive or get punished for for being no matter what.
Perfect. So I want to see you fully pushing again. And look, it's like deja vu. See, this is why I'm saying at the beginning, it's good to develop repeatable habits, because it's like the exact same situation last time. You don't know if she's recalling or not. And in this case, you either check or you fast crash. Okay? And, well, by the looks of it right now, you want to be your hard crashing. So we're going to see if MS recalled. So now you made the correct decision in this one rather than the last one. And you see how it's going to pay off for you. She's going to miss an entire wave. You might get one plate. So again, these are the repeatable habits that you should be building with your wave. So let's see when she comes back to lane. You guys are very, very far ahead in the 2v2 already. So I want to see you guys start looking very, very aggressively. Especially when you know Graves has got Herald, no one is around. You should be starting to like fist them under the turret. With Swainy looking for an ulti. This is a very common issue as well. You haven't done it, but just keep in mind, if you have a support that has hard CC, you should never blindly fire your ult for no reason, just praying it'll hit. It is a lot of fucking damage. If you hit 2 targets at once, that's 600 damage with one ability. Just always, if you have a support with CC, wait for your support to land the CC and then guarantee it landing, because it is night and day if that ability misses or not, you know? So just keep that in mind. Let's keep watching, poking, you know, Graves' top side. What happens here? Okay, this is a bit awkward.
I didn't need a flasher. I don't even know why I flashed. I have my E up, and I think I just panicked.
Mm-hmm. Let me watch it. So, for example, in a situation like this, I know it's with Milio, so it's a bit awkward because they have a CC cleanse. But as soon as the support lands CC, the fastest combo you can use to follow up on a support CC, if you have your ulti up, is WQR. Just make sure you do EUW first, basically.
Right.
And literally, if I have a Nautilus, or if I have a Leona, and they land their CC, I just instantly mash all of those buttons, like straight away.
Right.
Like straight away, I mash all of those buttons on the CC to guarantee that it's all going to land, because all of your shit skill shots, right? And if you have some setup, you should use that setup so you don't miss anything. So as soon as Swain has landed CC, it's a bit weird with his champion because he has this like pull as well. So I don't even blame you for missing this W.
Yeah, completely missed it.
Yeah, I don't even blame you for missing that because I promise you I would also probably miss a Q or something like that, forgetting that he's going to pull them in. But just keep in mind when you're following up on CC from your support, just unload WQR. If you don't have your R, then it's WQE, and it'll all hit them at the exact same time. It'll just like one tap, like out of nowhere. Again, you can refer back to it in the VOD if you forget that, because I'm not going to write it down, but yeah. So this could have potentially even been a kill. Potentially. You did get exhausted though, so. But this is a bit awkward because you're not really making use of your range here. You're unnecessarily right-clicking
close for no reason.
Really far in melee range. And this is an advanced level concept. I will tell it to you anyway, but it might be a bit hard to implement because I've given you so much to already think about in terms of laning. But I tweeted about this recently, and it's called isolating 1v1s. Okay? And basically, it's, again, quite advanced, but you want to be visualizing like zones of threat around the enemy champions at all times. And when you are fighting or following up an engage, you ideally only want to be in one zone of threat at one time. Okay, and what I mean by this is you're right-clicking in such a way that you can be hit by both Misfortune and Milio at the same time. Whereas you could have been clicking down and still be able to hit the Milio, but MF can no longer hit you.
Right.
And you understand what I mean by that? Because now it's just a 1v1 and MF's not a part of this. Yeah.
I'm putting myself in between two people for no reason, when I could just be playing down and only being in range of Milio, who has no damage.
Exactly. So simply just right-clicking down here. And the reason I told you that concept beforehand is that's something you can actually think about from game to game, rather than me just saying you should just right-click down here. Like, this is bad, don't right-click here. So now it's like something you can actually develop on. But yeah, you should be right-clicking down here to avoid Misfortune following up on you. This is how I would be posturing. But now you're like kind of, look, see, you instinctively do it, which is kind of correct, but you're already too close. Like, especially with the range of all your abilities, you're still far too close. And now you get hit by Milio's exhaust, which you could have been out of range of. You get hit by MF's Q and her ulti, and then you're forced to use your sums. Okay? So you could have just taken his sums and still been full HP if you just employed that sort of idea. But of course, you weren't thinking about it. You're just thinking about getting a kill immediately. So please do keep that in mind from now on, of course. And it goes to the flash in. yeah, I mean, the rest of this isn't too important to watch because now you're just going to play from max range. Swain's doing Swain things. He's living life. 1v2 in the lane. I like it. Honestly, I want to see a Swain support in my game. Hopefully, I get Swain support in my next game. But yeah, so even though this did work out fine, it could have been a lot better. Like, you could have still been full HP. You could still kept playing the load. Sorry, excuse me. And that is something to keep in mind. And if you want to remind yourself in that situation, and this happens in every fight, every skirmish, this concept you should be thinking about, if you can, of course. So if you wanted something to remind you of it, the term that I would use is isolating 1v1s. If you just wanted to like say that in your head, I don't know, you could, just to remind you of it, so that you just posture and position in the right place to win fights. And this is how I win some of the most bullshit fights. Is like, you'll see multiple people running at me, and I'll be clicking in such a way that it's just a 1v1 between each of them at any given time. You know what I mean? But that is like a very highly advanced trading concept because it requires very precise clicking and very precise positioning. But, you know, you said at the beginning you wanted to hear about this kind of laning, like OP laning ideas, so I thought I'd share that with you anyway. Okay, V2 crushing the wave. And I would say already at this point, you're so far ahead that there's not much else to talk about the laning phase. It will just be about bullying them and crushing them under the wave. I would like to take a look at some more team fighting later on in the game. Do you have any timestamps for that?
No, you can just click around. You probably could just go to like 14 minutes, probably when the lane's over, and then
Yeah, I'm
go
gonna do
from
that
there.
It's just in case you did have any timestamps. Let's have a look. Bit of a chill game, this one. Nothing crazy going on. Okay, let's take a look.
Yeah, this game was kind of uneventful because we were just probably dominating so hard already at this point. The cannon was like super far ahead already.
I love landing WQ, man. This is so much dopamine. Like, when you get set up, you just fucking watch this. Boom! Holy shit, that is so satisfying. Sorry. I just like Ezreal. I don't know if you can tell.
Me too.
Okay. Nothing crazy, nothing crazy. Yeah, there's not much to say about these because the game's kind of playing itself, you know? You didn't really...
Right.
There wasn't too much decision making you had to think about in this one. Any more fighting? Yeah, the game just said. So we'll look at the next game. Oh, never mind, you died. How did you die? Okay, it's a fucking... Luden's AP Cho'Gath one-shotting you. I didn't expect to see that.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. But yeah, let's look at the next game real quickly. I will look at the team fighting first because we already... Actually, no. Yes. First thing I want you to do, I want you to tell me about the 2v2. What the fuck are you playing against?
Yeah, exactly.
What the fuck is that?
I honestly thought it was like Akshan 80 carry in Twitch.
Okay.
And then you see the loading screen, she has heal. I'm like, okay, I've never seen that before, but you know, silver things, I guess. We have a Jax mid.
Okay, well...
I mean, yeah, who knows?
This is interesting. Okay, so I won't flame you for not actually having a plan for this one, because
no, I definitely had a plan for this one. I saw like,
right, yeah, sure.
I started rubbing my hands. I was like, oh shit, finally a Nautilus support in silver. This is like,
let's go.
Fucking agree, Santa Claus. It's like you never see engaged support.
It's the boogeyman, bro. Yeah.
Like, so it's like immediately off the bat, I'm thinking like lane domination. We have 2 combat sums. Like no hook, we win. Kale is literally a canyon minion until she hits 6. Like we just pressure, just like keep them under tower the entire game.
Okay.
TC, like that's it.
What I will say, in matchups where the enemy AD carry for some reason cannot hit. So other examples I would give you for this is if you are playing Ezreal Karma and the enemy is playing Kai'Sa, so they have quite short range, they should never, ever be allowed to touch the wave. Okay?
Right.
And you should be playing in a way that prolongs that period of them not touching the wave for as long as possible. So in this case, Kale is fucking melee. Of course, level 1. So she can't really play the game because you're ranged. So anytime she's trying to touch the wave, you're just going to, you know, auto her, Q her, etc. Whatever that needs to be the case. So in a matchup like this, first of all, I want to see you doing the level 1 thing that I was talking about, where you start in lane before the wave's even there. Which you haven't done, but it's fine. Like, this is it's a strange concept to think about. So I want to see you doing that from games here on out, no matter what, literally every game, with that middle bush, and just be playing in lane with your support. You might think it's dangerous because you're not covering the jungle, but that, to be honest, is not really your problem. You should be playing for yourself. Again, as I said in the beginning, as an overall concept for climbing, if you want to climb consistently, you want the agency in your hands more than your teammates, of course. And that is one way that you can do it. But yeah, I want to see you moving with Nautilus. Again, you're leashing, which I really am against. It's particularly, okay, this is a low elo thing, so it doesn't matter, but I just want to vent for a second that jungle players, you have a fucking Nautilus. They have a Kale AD. Why the fuck is he starting bot side, man? Like, what is he doing? Like, why is he going to path into top and try and kill an Akshar, and he's never going to be able to stop him? You know, he should be pathing into bot and diving this Kale every time. But yeah, end of for you. You shouldn't be leashing, especially if you're winning. If you win the matchup, which you do, you especially do not want to be leashing. Okay, so please, level 1, do this every time. It's like night and day what you can do for your laning phase. Okay, so let me tell you about this concept where I was saying you want to prolong the period of play where the enemy AD carry, or in matchups where the enemy AD carry can't hit. You want to prolong that period, and the way that you do that is you literally do not touch the wave other than for last hitting. Okay?
Okay.
And you just stand in front of the fucking wave, looking at her menacingly, and just let all of her CS bleed away. And trust me, the mental damage this does to your enemy, the mental pressure that they feel is immense. And you know how I know that is because when you have that done to you, where you're just sitting at your tower and you're desperately trying to get 1 minion and they don't let you, it's like suffocating. You know what I mean? So here, these auto attacks, I already don't like that you're speeding up this push here. Because now Kale is just, she's smiling. He's like, yes, please.
Right.
He's rubbing his hands together. He's like, please push this wave under the tower so I can get some minions. What you should be doing is, obviously against Twitch, it's a bit scary because he could be stealth. But you should just be sitting in the bush and only last hitting, and then literally just ping forward with your support, walk into this bush and just stand there. And he will just miss everything. He will just miss the first 3 minions. He'll miss like a couple of casters, and then you'll get the fattest stack possible. So the biggest stacked wave that you can get with the new minion changes is three waves, because they move much faster now than they did before, of course. And you will just crash the fattest wave. If your jungler has a brain, you could even dive them under the tower because they'll still be level 1. Or if you wanted to be LEC decision making, you would do something called a cheetah recall. Do you know what that is?
Cheetah recall?
Yeah.
Is it after the second wave you crash it? Is when you recall?
The concept of a cheetah recall doesn't really matter about which wave it is. It is crashing a large enough wave that you can recall and come back to lane before they've even pushed in their wave.
Right.
So that you've gotten the item advantage and they're still stuck in lane. That's what a cheetah recall is, okay? And that's what you would do if you're in a matchup like this where you have full control of the wave. You just stack up a fatty wave, recall, come back to lane with your items, and they can't crash the wave anymore. That is what cheetah recall is. So you have 2 decisions when in a matchup like this. Like, to me, this guy should already be punished. Look how close he is, you see? This guy should be getting auto-attacked, he should be getting queued, he should be getting harassed, and he should not be allowed to touch the wave. But in your mind, you're just letting him get away with it, you know what I mean? This is how I suddenly get advantages that you don't even realize out of nowhere. Like, I'll get a PTA proc off, like, all of a sudden, and people are like, oh, is he griefing or what? It's like, yeah, he is griefing, but the majority of players wouldn't even think to just punish here. They'd just be on autopilot. They'd be like, oh, yeah, I'm just CSing. So I want you to be looking aggressively when you're in a matchup that you are winning. I know if I took the nameplates off and I gave you this screenshot. 1 second, let me go back. If I took the nameplates off and I gave you this screenshot and you didn't know it was your gameplay, I know you would make the decision without me telling you. Like, why is he not hitting him? Like, that's what you'd be thinking, right? So you should be thinking that in the game too. Like, you shouldn't just be letting him get away with it, of course. But yeah. So as we can see.
Yeah, but I don't really know why I'm playing so apprehensive.
Yeah, but this is what I mean. The reason you're doing that is because you're not going into the game like thinking about the 2v2. Which is why it's like a massive, massive thing just to at least have a general idea of how you want to play your lane in mind, so you don't go into autopilot like every fucking solo queue player under the sun does. I promise you, just in loading screen, just the idea of developing a plan for lane and then sticking to that in a game will make you climb like insanely fast compared to most players. Like just that alone, because most players are just AFK, right-clicking minions, not thinking about their wave, you know, all-inning when they're a poke lane, you know, doing things completely what they shouldn't be doing in a laning phase. Like, just that alone That habit, make sure you make that that's a very important habit to have, because then you would see in yourself here, oh yeah, this guy shouldn't be touching the wave. Oh yeah, this guy should be getting punished, and then you'll do it. It will remind you because you just thought about it at the beginning, you know. But right now you're playing in autopilot, and that's the exact reason why is because I guarantee you didn't think about it in the loading screen. You know what I mean? But yeah, see, look, now you made the decision. You got level 2 fast, and you know you can play aggressively here. Then you start taking advantage of this. But just for example, they could have been like all the way over here and not touched a single minion yet.
Right.
If you get what I mean. This is a specific thing about getting level 2 here. Let me tell you. In this situation here, okay, let me tell you about 2 things here, first of all. Landing straight line skill shots when champions are against walls is very, very easy to do. Like, you should ideally wait until a champion is against a wall to aim a skill shot at them, because they only have one way to juke. So this is a guaranteed Q, because he can only juke down. So you basically just aim at his head, because if he jukes this way, he's going to take more autos, of course. So you should wait until they're against the wall to land a skill shot like this. This is a free Q. And another thing that I would refer to is, remember that idea
isolated one.
Exactly.
Yeah, because I'm putting myself in between the Kayle and the Twitch for no reason.
But you could even take this a step further and literally just E here, because it is like the beginning of laning phase. Jungler is not going to be able to attack you right now. I mean, if he's super cheesy, he will.
Right.
But you could just E here, and if you think about it, so if you just talk about it in your mind outside of League of Legends, does a level 2 Ezreal solo kill a level 1 Twitch? Yes. Okay, well then this is just a 1v1 between a level 2 Ezreal and a level 1 Twitch. You could just E here, auto Q, this guy suddenly has to use his sums, and you just, on your own, completely Goomba stomp the lane out of nowhere, you know?
Yeah, because Kayle has no range, so it's not like she can influence that.
Yeah, exactly. So her zone of threat, which is the thing I was talking about, is like a fucking tiny circle around her, you know?
Right, it's melee range.
Yeah, so you have a lot of space to play here, you know what I mean? And even though your Nautilus is not doing anything, this is how you can take it into your own hands. Like, alright, I'm the fucking Giga Chad 80, you know what I mean? So I would have like E'd up here, Q'd down instead of risking it on this, you know, and then really, really, really punished. And then you could continue pushing this lane. He has no sums, he's low, maybe you can even dive after that. But yeah. I think we have about 10 more minutes. I think I started pretty late, so I will just speed this up. I hope you've had a lot to take away already. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
I have a habit of kind of being all over the place when I'm coaching, because I don't really have, like, how do I put it? A routine, I guess. And I like picking up people's habits and teaching that. But this is why I now enjoying the idea of doing it on stream, because even though I kind of go all over the place and I'm saying a lot, that you can always just refer back to it on the VOD if you would like to. So, but yeah, let's keep watching. But yeah, so in my mind, this should be a much harder one matchup, okay? What I will say, again, as I said, these things crop up time and time again, these patterns. If you want to play aggressive like this, level 1, 2, what was the one thing I said you had to do so you didn't get punished?
I don't know.
It was warding in the river.
Right.
On wave 2.
I don't know where. I don't even know where I placed that.
Yeah, that's
first ward at.
Oh wait, yeah, actually, where did you?
Yeah, because I don't have a ward up. I don't know exactly where I put it.
Okay, but it's fine. Even if you didn't have a ward, your support probably does, and you should just ping him to ward. But I will tell you the location that you should always ward. Because a lot of people don't know about this. But when you are playing on red side, so here, and you want to ward for a gank level 3, most players ward this bush, right?
Right.
You should not ward here, because you can get attacked through this path without any vision. You should ward right where my mouse is, like the tip of my finger, right here.
Okay, the opening of that.
Yes.
Okay.
Just like at the edge of this like corner.
Because it catches both the try and then the river.
It catches the second they leave this bush, and it catches up here. So in case they have a Kindred who can jump over, or a J4 or anyone,
right,
it will catch both ends, and then you're safe. But a misconception is a lot of AD carriers ward this bush, they keep playing aggressive, they're like, yeah, I'm fine, I got vision, and then they get ganked from this river play here, and then they just die, and they're like, oh shit. So please, even in the LEC, LCK, all the pro leagues, this is where they ward when they're playing on red side.
Would you ward that same spot if you're blue side?
No. I mean, you can, but you want it a bit deeper. So if you're blue side, enemy junglers, obviously, well, you should hope early game enemy jungler's not going to gank you from here. That would be pretty crazy. Right. So common spots to ward for blue side is like around here, like right where my finger is. So you get really deep early vision on the river, so you have time to react. Because if you just ward this bush, they can get in here and still have like space to engage. Let's say if it's a Jarvan and he gets in here without you seeing, he can still EQ flash you by the time you've seen him, you know? So you should see them early as you can. And in an even better ward, if you have time to, let's say you crash a really large stacked wave and you have time to like go roaming for a bit, a ward here, so you catch him on either of these camps, the jungler on either of these camps, is really, really useful. Obviously, if they've started bot side, that's a bit wasted because, you know, he's going to be pathing away, so it's a useless ward. But if you know they're pathing into you, then you should ward here. But most of the time, if you're blue side, you ward here. If you're red side, you ward here. Okay? Just keep those in mind. Again, refer back to on the board if you need to, because they can be easy to forget. But yes, remember, if every time you want to play this aggressive Ezreal style, you should always be warding one of those two spots early, so you don't just get cheese ganked and throw away all of the hard work that you did in lane. 1 second. Sorry. Okay, now we're looking. So yeah, this lane could have already been like much harder won than what it was.
And we're really not capitalizing on the level discrepancy.
Because eventually she's going to get to level 6, and then it's going to be a lot harder to punish because she's ranged now. And I can see you're feeling a bit of that frustration as well, because you're like walking up and like taking trades back just to get the PTA. You're like, fuck, like I should have been punishing her, you know? So I think you started realizing that now, and you're trying to compensate, and you're getting traded back on. Nautilus lands a hook, I'm guessing. Okay, let me see how you play this, micro-wise. Is there any reason you didn't E?
I have no idea. It's just an E auto and it's just they're dead.
Yeah, pretty much. So remember what I said earlier about playing with setup? Obviously you don't know where the jungler is, so this is something you need to keep in mind. If you don't know where the jungler is, it's a bit risky to fire your E, like, because let's say you suddenly get ganked after following here and you've eaten, you're kind of fucked. But basically, obviously, I'm just going to go over quickly because I already said it. In this situation, when he's landed his hook, I would just instantly auto Q, auto E. Just straight up in 1 second. Auto Q. You're still waiting a little bit here, so there's a bit of delay. Q. I would even E early and then just get one more. Or if he's just dead instantly. Like here, even E, even E, even E. So just keep in mind when you land CC, you should just immediately blow your load, like, if you can.
Yeah.
The only ability you ever need to be careful about in situations like that is your E, and you need to be thinking about, oh, maybe the jungler's here, maybe I shouldn't E. But for now, just keep that in mind, because I've seen now you missed like 2 free kills on CC, right? So it's definitely a habit that I'm picking up on. Oh, she died anyway, but it could have been your kill, right? Which is definitely a big deal.
Yeah.
Okay, watch it. Let's see. So in this situation, you should recall immediately because you've already got the kill. This is
come
the
back
support.
with the item advantage.
Yeah, this is the support, so him getting the CS doesn't really matter. You just immediately recall and then come back to lane the exact same time they do, but you've got an item advantage. Obviously, it'd be a tier, but getting an early tier is always a nice thing on Ezreal, of course, so you can get your mana as fast as possible. So, yeah, you should have recalled because now you're going to be stuck in lane. Oh, you're fake basing? Interesting. Interesting. I like it. It's a good attempt, but you should definitely be recalling him. Did Nautilus miss his hook? BG. This was a free hook. Loki was a free kill because she used the flash. Yeah. You should be recalling because, again, see, so this is definitely a habit we can see already from the last spot to this one. You kind of delay your recalls for... Like, you don't even know why you're delaying your recall, you know? It's like, are you going to get a plate? Are you going to get a kill? Are you going to deny them CS? It's none of that. You're kind of just sitting in lane.
I guess I'm thinking just waiting for 1100 just like come back with tier Sheen, but it's like I'm just delaying like an early spike for no reason.
Is the way you should think about recalls is if you can recall, anytime you can recall without missing minions or being stuck in lane, you should take them. Even if you're going to buy like a really awkward component, because you never know, like let's say you don't recall here early and you're waiting for this tier Sheen, and then suddenly the jungler ganks you, you're low, you can't crush the next wave, and then you're going to have to recall awkwardly. You remember like in the other situation where you did get ganked by Graves when you didn't take your recall, and then suddenly you have to start missing CS because you took a bad recall. You want to avoid that. At all costs, avoid that. because that's the best way that you can make sure you're taking good recalls to always catch your CS. So you should, if you wanted a way to think about it, so you didn't just not be sure when to recall on when you should, that's one way that you can think about it.
Right.
Oh, I just killed them and got a free crash. I should recall now, even if it's just for a tier. You know, it does feel a bit awkward, but it's the best way to avoid awkward situations later down the line.
Right.
Because now you're staying even longer, you're losing mana, they're slowly pushing the wave. You're kind of staying in lane for no reason. You're going to get to a point where you're completely out of mana.
I'm sitting on so much gold for no reason.
Yeah, exactly. So even the kill that you got earlier is kind of wasted because gold leads are completely irrelevant unless you've spent them. So right now, you've killed her, but you're just as strong as she is still because you haven't got any items. Like, you're still just as strong as her, even though you have 1.8k in the bank, you know what I mean? So do keep that in mind. So yeah, I can see overstaying is definitely a habit of yours. And remember when I said 6 minutes, you should ideally get it before then? You've now delayed your tier by a long time as well, so...
Yeah, I'm sitting on 2,000 gold.
Still a really nice recall, of course. I quickly want to look at some team fighting, I remember I said, because I've definitely gone over lots of laning concepts for you to think about in your next game, so I want to watch some team fighting here now. Because obviously, micro and mechanics is a big part of Ezreal, so let's take a look at that when we can.
A question I had is, when do you... So, I'll probably be playing more sorcery secondary page. When do you go for boots? Do you like to get them early? Just like tier 1 boots. Do you like to get it early in lane, or do you just wait till you get like your mythic and then you go from there?
Generally, it's literally only when you've recalled, you've bought what you can, and then you just have 300 left over.
Okay.
Literally, that's the only time you should be buying it. A lot of the time, I will have Sheen, Hearthbound Axe, and a Kindle Gem, so the Trinity components, and I won't even have boots yet. And then, if on my next base I didn't manage to get Trinity, I'll buy boots then. Or if in between I bought like a Sheen and I have 300 left over, I'll buy boots then. It's never really a priority. After you get Trinity Force, you want to build Lucidity as fast as you can, but in between then, it's kind of just when you have 300 to base on.
Gotcha.
Okay, let's have a look. What happened here? Why is it already here? Okay, this game is already fucking weird macro-wise. But this is generally why it's really important in coaching sessions to mainly focus on the laning phase. Because beyond that, especially in the lower elos, the games get a bit fucking crazy. It's an
absolute crap shoot.
Yeah, exactly. So like right now, I'd be like, oh yeah, you're crashing bot wave and looking for a plate. But for some fucking reason, Aurelia is in bot lane out of nowhere, right?
Aurelia's bot lane and like Jax is just pushing top
with a Herald. Yeah, exactly. So this is a bit chaotic to look at, so... Let me just see if I can find any team fighting. Maybe I should just say my next session so people should have timestamps.
Yeah, next time I'll timestamp some stuff.
Sure. Okay, let's have a look. Nothing crazy here. Your team is not playing at all. I'm just gonna look for when you start getting kills. So you have 417 now. 428. You died. Let's see how you died. Okay, let's have a watch.
Yeah, it's melee range into a fucking Aurelia. That's not smart. I should just eat over the wall instead of trying to fight this. She ulted me. Like right here, I should just eat backward into the Viego, but...
Yeah. Okay, well,
I think I died a red buff. Yeah, I died a red buff.
It's pretty obvious. But in this situation, especially as an AD carry, this is a general AD carry rule, is enemy threats don't really care about killing anyone else but you. And it kind of sucks. You hear people complaining about it all the time. Why is he focusing me? Why is he using his cooldowns on me? That's because it's their job to fucking kill your ass, right? So in a situation like this, even though he's hit his ult on 3 people, he's looking. His eyes are locked on you. You know what I mean? And you should be aware of that. And just space out of range of her queuing to you, because she's got all her research. She can queue to this guy, and then you. You should just E backwards here, like right now. And then she has nothing to do. And they don't really need you in this situation. You can stay melee range and exhaust if you wanted to get the kill, but it's kind of a free kill. Yeah, and you're wasting a sum for no reason, you know what I mean?
Yeah, a big issue I definitely see in my own gameplay when I watch my own VODs is just I don't tether correctly, and I like often end up in team fights just like way too close to the enemy when it's like I'm playing Ezreal, like I should just be playing max range at every point.
Yeah, exactly. And it's good that you say that, because a common misconception or a common mistake, actually probably the most common team fighting mistake every Ezreal I ever see make is they forget that Ezreal, fundamentally as a champion, is 0 utility. He's pure damage. His only objective in any team fight is getting off damage, and people will, posture in a team fight. They'll miss 1 or 2 Qs. They'll get really frustrated that they haven't dealt any damage, and then they'll just E in just for that little hit of damage. They'll auto once or twice, and then they'll get flash Malphite ulted or flash Tibbers, and it's like, well, sure, you got 1 assist, 1 kill, and now you're dead, and the rest of your team needed your fucking DPS. So it's really about patience on Ezreal when you're positioning for team fights, and it's just staying at the range that you are safe to not take damage from any threat, and just poking with Qs, Ws over and over again. When you have enough haste, it starts becoming like a machine gun if you hit a few in a row, so it's not like you're missing too much DPS. And then when it's like a guaranteed play, that's when you go for the E forward, start mixing the autos between your abilities. But it's a very, very common mistake, probably the biggest mistake. I talked about this on my Twitter as well. Eing forward too early just because they're desperate to get some damage off because they missed 1 or 2 Qs. You gotta make sure you keep that in mind in team fights. Like, you should be using your range. Like, that's what makes Ezreal, that's what makes him stand out from the other AD carries. It's like he can get away with damaging from far away, So again, let me just keep forward any more kills. I think these games were fairly inconsequential in terms of like team fighting and stuff, but we'll see if we can find something to point out. Nothing too crazy here. Okay, there's 2 kills actually. Random PDF by the wall, apparently. Akshan, hello, what are you doing here, buddy? Where is he going?
I don't know.
Where is he going? Okay, here, once again, this is a habit that you're making, so I'm going to say this one more time because repetition is OP for keeping things in memory. Your Nautilus is landing CC here, but instead of firing your abilities, you're auto-attacking, which are always guaranteed without CC anyway. So you should have queued. You should have R'd, in the situation. Because now, watch. You think you can queue now, and he flashes it.
Yeah.
So you've missed some crucial DPS that you could have got off in that situation. So
I think I ulted when he ulted.
Yeah, maybe not an ult here because it's fine, but you absolutely should be queuing. Like, you're missing a queue for no reason, right? Like, it could have been free Q, and then it's too late. Again, so now you're doing it, right? You see the ulti from the Nautilus, which is good. This is a good ulti. You're waiting for the guaranteed CC. He's already used flash. He can't dodge it. Maybe a better lineup, he would have hit the Kale as well, but, this is not too... I'm not going to point that out too much. Being forward here, and fine kill. But this is the power of having Nautilus, is following up on the CC. So if you're not making use of that, then you're not really making use of the tools that Nautilus has for you. Let me have another look. I generally don't like this E forward here because, again, you don't know what. Actually, you do see Aurelia and you know who it did. It's fine, but you still don't know where Twitch is. Okay, so let's say Twitch was here and you E forward, you're just gonna get opened up on and maybe even one shot out of nowhere. This E could probably actually also just Q on you after his meditate and maybe even one shot you. So I generally don't like, especially in the late game. Maybe in early laning, it's fine to get away with the E's to one shot, but here it's a bit unnecessary, because it's not. How much damage does it add? 143, right? It's like really inconsequential for how powerful of a tool this can be for positioning. So this was a bit over eager, And Twitch did end up opening up. So imagine if he was here instead of here, you might have to use your flash or even die here, But it's fine. Let me see if there's anything else you could have done here.
I think I died to the ignite and
so that's a result of the E, right? Because if you had your E earlier, he couldn't have killed you, so do keep that in mind. But yeah, remember what I told you about before we even saw any fighting was people Eing forward too early. So I told you, everyone makes some mistake. I make that mistake too. Like, everyone makes that mistake.
Yeah, I think it's just a bad habit. Especially if I use using his W, I just have a habit of like QWE auto or weaving in autos with my full combo.
Did you actually...
without just taking into fact that Twitch could be there ulting and just hitting me for free.
Did you see my tweet today about Kazi, actually? It was about this exact thing.
Yeah, I think I saw you posted earlier.
So funny. The fucking demons, bro. The voices in your head when you're fed, you just fucking E in and get one shot, you're like, oh shit, and then you lose again. But yeah. Okay, maybe something at Nash. No. There wasn't too much team fighting for me to point out on this.
No.
There was definitely a lot in the laning phase that you can take away from. So, I mean, I probably spoke about a bit too much because there was so much at once. So I hope you can pick up on the things that you thought were most important for you and the mistakes that you see for yourself.
Yeah, I just wanted more laning than anything. I think that's where you win or lose games.
Absolutely.
Definitely the first 10 minutes of a game.
And that's kind of the main thing I focus on as well. Anyway, that's what you should do in coaching for solo queue particularly. So Well, yeah, I hope you had a lot to take away from that. It is now
Yeah.
fortunately on a VOD, so it can be watched back. I'm
Yeah.
happy about that.
I'll definitely watch back and just take it in a little bit more.
Okay. Well, that was a great session. First session for the stream.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for joining me. You might be on YouTube as well if you're okay with that.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Cheers. Thanks so much, man. That was
Alright,
great. See you later,
thanks.
bro. All right, boys. League DMs. Yeah, I don't really give a fuck. All right, boys. What did you